Hey, it's Chris Doherty coming to you with a live video where I want to talk about what is happening in the real estate market today. Everybody that is reading the news is looking at the Wall Street Journal. They're looking at Barron's Magazine. You're looking at your local paper, and there's a lot of conversation happening about what is happening in the real estate market today. And you know, there's certainly an explanation for what is happening right now, and then I'll give you some guidance on what you should be doing. But first, let me just go through what has been happening in the real estate market and why it's been happening. Well, first, when COVID-19 had become an issue in the United States and in the global economy, the real estate market was moving ahead nicely. We were seeing gains in the price category, and we were also year on year, we're seeing price increases, and we were seeing steady increases in the market overall. Days on markets were coming down a little bit, and things were moving well, and it was a seller's market. But once COVID-19 happened, a lot of things happened. That market stalled for just a short time, but then it normalized. And then these other factors really came into play to give just an incredible kick to the market. So while we were having a very good seller's market and things were good, when COVID-19 came, it really forced a lot of other people into the market sooner than they would have. The original people that were going to do what they were going to do were there, but now we had all this other pressure on the market. We had millennials who were renting, making moves during COVID-19 at a more aggressive rate than was predicted or expected. We saw people that were going through like a great migration who were shifting their housing habits because now the economy had changed. People didn't have to be in work, and as a result of that, they were able to go remote working, so they started to shift where they were going to live and where they were going to buy. So we really saw mass exodus from the condo market in a lot of ways in urban areas, and that really benefited the single family and the multifamily market in the suburban areas. You couple that with the fact that we have been dealing with incredibly low interest rates, hovering a lot of the time through this in the, some in the mid to high 2%. And because of COVID-19, a lot of the suburban sellers weren't selling and putting their places on the market. You were seeing the urban markets make a move, but these suburban markets had very tight inventory. So the combination of very low inventory, very low interest rates, a already strong and robust market, combined with this great migration shift of COVID-19, put the real estate market into high gear in a way that we'd never seen. And the price gains in that period are significant, double digits. So now that things have normalized a bit, there's headwinds and there's some fear about variance, but for the most part, things in the United States have normalized a bit, right? People are back to work. People are going to shops, their restaurants, they're going back out to concerts and events. Things have normalized and stabilized. And with that, while there are still the buyers that are there, and while inventory is still tight, it has slowed down that great migration to some extent, where people are not feeling this great pressure to move right away. I mean, think about it. If you live in an urban area in a city, the reason that you were there is because you wanted access to shops, restaurants, nightlife, and you were willing to pay for that and to be close to the office. Well, when all that was shut down, it didn't make a lot of sense to pay a huge premium to be in a place that really didn't get you anything. But now that that has come back, we're seeing a return to those urban markets. Condos are stabilizing, and there's a slight softening of this suburban market. Now, by no means is this a shift or change right now from a seller's to a buyer's market. It's certainly not there yet. But what we're seeing is that great migration in the middle, that furious pace of people that when people were trying to get toilet paper and they were going crazy, going store to store, they were doing the same thing with real estate. That piece has slowed down a bit. So what we have is really pre-COVID activity at much higher price points, okay? Because we've seen these double-digit price points. So what we should expect and what we are starting to see play out is simple. Because that the number of people that advanced their moving schedule or moved out of those urban areas is slowing down. So it's not likely to see these double-digit gains like we saw during the COVID period. That's the first thing. The second thing is we still have tight inventory. Now, there's some questions with the foreclosure moratorium and how many foreclosures come on and what the impact of that is, and that remains to be seen. But right now, there's still very tight inventory. There's more inventory than there was a few months ago, but it's still very tight. So what the news is for you, if you've been a buyer waiting, it's a good opportunity for you because there are fewer buyers in the market than there were just a couple of months ago. And there's a little bit more inventory. So you have an opportunity to potentially buy something. But right now, because inventory is still very tight, because interest rates are still very low, and because there's still a lot of buyers out there, the market is going to remain stable at this point. Now, it's natural to see some price cooling, not just in housing, but in everything, right? Because supply lines have been backed up. But if you're a buyer right now, this could be the pause that you're looking for to get in and have that opportunity. If you're a seller and you've been sitting on the sidelines, well, I don't know that you're going to get that chance of that furious pace like there was just a few months ago because the market has changed. All of those buyers who advanced their schedules, I think basically people that were going to buy 1, 2, 3 years out, they rushed forward because they weren't in situations they wanted to be. And they said, now's the time to make a life change. You're not going to see that. So I think you have a normalization of the market happening right now, where we're going to go back to where we were pre-COVID, which means it's still a seller's market. You're still going to have a pretty good days on market, where you're going to see a return to the urban areas. You're going to see prices cooling and even some price dropping in the suburban markets because they jump so far, so fast, and the market is going to move along. However, it's hard to explain that to a seller who saw their neighbor get 50 or 100,000 over ask during the craze. Now you might not get that over ask. You might still go over ask. You might get 10 over, you might get 20, but it's not likely that you're going to get the big bump you did before, but you're still better than you were a year and a half ago. But it's hard psychologically for people to see that. So I think what you're going to see is a little bit more inventory coming on. Naturally, some of those foreclosures are going to come to market. You're going to see some price cooling in the next couple of months. It's a good opportunity to enter the market. It's not a panic situation in real estate right now because there's just not a lot of inventory. And that has historically been our problem. When we have too much inventory on the market, it panics everybody. It's not, but we have a cooling off period that's happening right now. If you have any questions, always reach out. Do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Put some notes below, and I look forward to updating you guys as the real estate market goes forward.